Oh, sorry, eh?
What was that?
Oh, I'm just apologizing. I hit you there. I must have hurt you pretty hard, eh?
Okay, why in the hell are you being so friendly to me when you just bumped into me?
I'm sorry. It's just I'm Canadian. It's what I do.
Oh, you're Canadian.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? I actually have a Canadian Patreon thing. I'm supposed to review this album by the Barenaked Laddies?
You mean the Barenaked Ladies? They're my favorite group. I've got one of their albums right here.
Oh, okay. Wow, this is actually the album that I'm supposed to review.
Really?
For this guy on Patreon. He requested it, so
You know what's funny? I requested some guy named Joan or whatever to review it too.
I'm John.
No, not Joan. I'm pretty sure it's Joan from ARTV.
It's ARTV.
Yeah, so I said ARTV.
The hat right here, logo?
Joan!
Yeah, that's me.
It's Joan, right?
Am I in Canada? And the moral of that story? If you're a Patreon supporter and happen to be passing through North Carolina, maybe I'll meet up with you and we'll actually film a sketch for your requests. So today, without further ado, let's get into it. We do have from my Patreon supporter, Andrew. Nice guy. He helped out with the skit. Show him some love down in the comments section there. We're going to be reviewing for the 25th anniversary, a little bit past it, of Gordon, the album by the Barenaked Ladies. This is something, if you hear the name, you're like, okay, what's this band all about? Because that's what I thought for the longest time. But it's kind of like one of those zany, wacky themes where it's like it actually suits them, you know? This is a Canadian band, and this album, Gordon, was actually massively influential when it came out in the 90s. It eventually went diamond. That means it sold 1 million copies in Canada, and it actually had some certifications in the US too, if I'm not mistaken. This is one of those albums that manages to be kind of playful, think a la They Might Be Giants, or even Weird Al, but it also has a serious balance to it as well. It's like you're weighing things on your Lieber scale, and you do have the serious moments, and you have the more comedically inclined ones, and they kind of even balance each other out. I've known several songs by this band for a while now, including one on this very album, If I Had $1 Million. It's something I heard when I was a kid. Some of their songs get used in movies and like commercials and that sort of thing. So I'm no total stranger to them, but every time I would see the name, I would be like, huh, I really don't know anything about this band. So I know a couple of YouTubers that I watch in the music community. Shout out to Track by Track and Spectrum Pulse. I know they're fans of this band. I actually asked Mark from Spectrum Pulse on a live stream I was doing. I was like, hey, I'm reviewing this for a Patreon supporter. What do I need to know about this band, or what do you think about this band? And he was pretty positive about it, especially this album. So I had only heard the album a couple of times at that point. I went in with high expectations because everyone was talking about it so positively. And honestly, for the most part, it does pay off. It's like not my favorite album of all time or anything like that, but I do have positive feelings as a whole. It's a very gleeful album at times. It gleams a lot of light and that sort of thing, and you can listen to it, and even on some of the slower songs and ones that are more serious in their tone, you can still get something from them and almost appreciate the instrumentation and the thought that's going behind it, because it just feels so breezy. Oftentimes when you say breezy, it automatically means forgettable, and that's not the case here. I mean, sure, a couple of tracks that I would scrub off of the track listing, perhaps, but not as a whole. This is one of those albums where I can look to something like Enid, the second song here. Super catchy, makes you want to snap your fingers along with the melody and sing along each time the chorus rolls around. Just a frustrated relationship there. And then something that's much more serious in terms of a relationship towards the end of this record, The Flag. It's one that is very, very dark. And it's talking about a woman who wonders why she's still in this relationship and still invested in this guy. And it uses the whole like checkered flag racing thing. And the themes there are very, very interesting. So it's nice to see the contrast. And Barenaked Ladies in general, I don't think it's necessarily a total problem that they have going on throughout this record or any of their others that I haven't heard that I'm not aware of. But on this record, some might listen to it and think this record kind of jumps all over the place. And I do feel like that still in places, but trust me, it's grown on me a whole lot, and I think it will for you too. Some of these I can't defend as much. I am not a fan of Grade 9 at all. It reminds me of this band, the Aquabats, that I occasionally listened to back in the day, something like their track Pizza Day, where they have like the intentionally like peppy, almost like band-styled music that just is attempting to make you feel like this is a very nerdy song. I felt that way about Grade 9, and I'm sure that maybe that's actually how they felt about everything in Grade 9, or 9th grade, freshman year for anybody in the States. I feel like that's actually probably how they felt, but the way it comes across, it's just so kind of gimmicky, kind of cheesy, like trying really hard to be kind of funny and quirky, and as a result, it just kind of like loses its charm on me. I mentioned a couple of forgettable songs that I would probably just scrub off the final track listing if I could, because this record is an hour long. One of those would be Box Set. I appreciate the idea and the nuance that went into that one, especially with it being like a star that's getting really big and they're getting a lot of popularity. They don't know how to handle it, and then they don't know how to handle the fall off either, and people not screaming their name anymore. I can appreciate the idea there, but everything about this song just kind of screams dime a dozen in terms of its instrumental, not anything crazy going on there. And then What a Good Boy, not my cup of tea. But the album starts off with Hello City, and that one does have that kind of sensation to it, with a little bit of jazz, a little bit of pep in its step, and then that moves smoothly into Enid. Grade 9, a little bit of a speed bump there, but then we get to just the home run where they knock it out of the park. Brian Wilson. That is smoothness at its finest, but it has a dark center to it. I like the fact that, you know, some songs, I've always said this, but some songs, you know, they appear very bright, very sunshiny, but they actually have dark lyricism to them. This is about Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, somebody that I'm a huge fan of. I saw the Beach Boys live, and I can appreciate the harmonies on this track, and also the lyrical content that discusses how Brian Wilson's mental health deteriorated after his dad passed away. He started turning to drugs for help to escape this, and as a result, he had some mental illnesses, and this song talks about that and also the kind of recovery, but it's written from like an outsider's point of view. There's enjoyable elements to other songs here, bits of crazy I like, the overall chorus on Be My Yoko Ono I like, but again it feels a bit gimmicky like I said about some of these other tracks here. I like the fact that on The King of Bedside, Manor, this is where the band started their tradition of recording at least one song in the nude. Apparently they hit writer's block with this one, or else they couldn't get the performance just right for what they wanted to put to tape, so they ended up recording it naked, and that is the version that you hear on this. And despite the insanity and the overall comedy Looney Tunes feel that this track just gives off and oozes, I can still appreciate it for what it is. I'll close it out by talking about another one of my top favorites. Blame It On Me is a track that comes across with some great pianos. I love the acoustic guitar on this one, just almost a rainy day vibe that's conjured up here. And I can really get into a groove like that. You just easily slip into it. It's like Brian Wilson, and those are probably my two favorite tracks right here. Blame It On Me, another fantastic cut from this album, Gordon. What do you guys think though? Have you heard this record? Have you ever even heard of the Barenaked Ladies? I don't think I get a ton of requests to talk about them. Maybe I do. They had an album called Fake Nudes that came out last year. I know, great name for that album. I like that. What do you guys think about the Barenaked Ladies? Sound off down below. If you don't have any experience with them, check out this album. It's linked in the description, and then come back and leave a comment letting me know. Drop a like on the video. Thanks again to Andrew for being awesome and being a great Patreon supporter. It was so fun to meet up with him and shoot this sketch. And if you would like to get in on the fun, get an album reviewed, maybe get a top 10 episode of 7 on Sunday, whatever you're interested in, then head over to my Patreon page. You can see all the cool perks and levels at the top link in the description down below.
Sorry, we gotta go over. I'll just.
What should I say? Why in the hell are you being so friendly when you can't watch where you're walking?
Oh, sorry. I'm just Canadian. It's in my nature, you know.
I don't like the way that you're speaking to me.
Well, I'm sorry. I can leave if you want. Is there some way I can?
Hold on, this guy. He's like progressively getting louder.
How are we transitioning from you being angry at me to realizing I'm your Patreon?
Okay, that's a good point. Okay.
You need the Barenaked Lotties? The Barenaked... come to my car, I'll give you all 20.
You know what? I think I'm just gonna hold on to this one.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm just gonna
Sure.
take this one.
Oh.
You good though?
I guess. I guess.
I'm just gonna take this back to my car. I'm
Okay.
gonna give it a few plays.
Sure.
Gonna-
Maybe we can hang out sometime.
I'm just gonna ruminate on this. You know, let that sink in.
Oh, okay.
But I'll see you on Patreon.
Yeah.
Patreon.
Yeah. Love you.
You can also go directly to my Patreon by tapping this cool little annotation right over there in the corner of the screen. So convenient. If you would like to see another Patreon roundup, right over here. If you would like to see another recent review I did, you can tap right here. All of my socials can be found in the description, and I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.